Hello! It's been quite the productive month, I'd say. I had an absolutely wonderful opportunity to participate in the Gwueble Jam, I hope I'm saying that right, during the month of July, and I wanted this video to kind of serve as a documentation for that experience. So without further ado, let's talk about the Gwueble Jam. The Gwueble Jam was a small game jam hosted by Gwueble and Gwizz, two of the more prominent Godot game development YouTubers, both of which I have watched pretty extensively in my Godot journey. The jam started on Sunday, July 29th and ran all the way until the following Sunday, July 26th. As per usual, the theme for the game jam wasn't announced until the first day of the jam, so I decided to tune into their live stream to watch the reveal live. After being scanned by YouTube's live tracking data, the theme for the jam was announced, and here is my live reaction to that theme. As per the Game Jam standard, I began workshopping what I wanted to do right away, and I had a few clever ideas that I think were pretty okay. After thinking of the initial ideas, I went out to talk to my editor about what the gameplay for all of my initial ideas could look like. Eventually, I ended up settling on the cigarette game, which was later refined down to this simple game idea. You are a worker, no different than any other corporate employee, and just like the average employee, you've had to miss yet another break due to some asinine reason. Well, you finally had it. It's time to take the break you deserve, even if your boss doesn't approve. The idea for the game is simple: run around your job and hide from your fellow coworkers and boss as you try to sneak smoking a very slow burning cigarette. With this idea in my mind, I began work on designing the player character. I'm going to mention at this point that I personally have a very bad problem when it comes to being distracted. So while a lot of the stuff I was doing in these sessions took several days, please know that I likely could have done them a lot faster if not for that. With all that out of the way, I spent most of the first day's sessions, which was about 4 hours, designing the main player functionalities, things like a very simple movement script as well as a state machine for later use. After the first day, I had some pretty basic movement and interaction buttons. On day 2, I realized that a lot of my original idea for a toggleable puff state wasn't going to pan out, so I rewrote the player scripts in another 4 hours or so to function closer to what my new goal was, which was an automatic smoke state and a manual puff. This means that the player can move around as much as they want, and then when they stand still for a few seconds, they will automatically enter the smoking state. They can press and hold the puff button to take a longer drag of the cigarette, which will in turn make the progress speed up. Next was the UI, which for the time being was quite simple, using Godot's built-in progress bars and canvas nodes, as well as a few special signals that was able to make the cigarette meter, which only appeared when the player was in the smoking state, but also kept track of the progress of the cigarette when it was put away. On the third day of the jam, I was unfortunately scheduled to actually go work at my real job and decided to use the time as a sort of rest day. So in a technical way, I was a day behind overall when it came to the design of this game. On the fourth day, due to some previously scheduled engagements, I wasn't able to work on the project until around 4 p.m. local time, so I was already starting a bit behind, but I would enter, in my opinion, what would be the hardest stretch of time in the actual project: the enemy AI design. In the beginning, the idea was simple: download Limbo AI and figure out the rest as I go. This did not go how I wanted it to at all. Firstly, before even installing Limbo AI, I decided to make a state machine for the enemy, which, as I had previously done, was quite simple. After which I decided to install Limbo AI and learned that there is a built-in state machine and state features in it, which would have likely saved me a lot of time on the original player and the enemy scripts before, which was great to learn. Then I came to the realization that Limbo AI would be quite a bit of a knowledge undertaking and decided to make my own AI system, which in hindsight was an absolutely terrible idea. I spent several hours on day 4 trying to learn how the navigation system worked in Godot, because it's kind of basic, but not as basic as you might anticipate at first glance. And after a little bit of time, I had what I needed. I decided to call it a day after figuring out how the nav stuff worked and entered day 5 with hope in my heart, but boy, let me tell you, I should not have had any hope. Before I get into my personal trauma for this jam, I want to explain what my goal for the enemy AI was. In essence, the goal was to have the enemy AI follow a predetermined path marked by Path 2D nodes, which I could place into any level at any point in any scene that I needed them in. If the enemy detected something within its range that it didn't like, i.e. the player smoking within a specific range of it, it would move towards whatever that thing was using the navigation agent and navigation region nodes from Gwueble. If it reached the area that it was searching for and didn't find what it was looking for, it would simply head back to its original path and start back from where it left off. Seems pretty simple, and honestly, it wasn't. Firstly, I spent maybe 2 hours trying to figure out how to snap something back to a path follow, which did not work no matter how many methods I tried. The shitty Google AI kept suggesting things that I couldn't trust since I genuinely could not verify where any of the info was coming from. Every time I tried to instantiate the enemy spawns, they would break. Eventually, I got the AI to navigate back to its original path starting point, but still could not get it to follow the original path. After getting about 90% of the goal, I decided to do what I thought would be a simple and easy way to get through the last 10%. Rather than dealing with the pain in the ass of resetting the path and then reattaching to it, which over the course of 2 hours just was not functioning how I wanted it to, I decided that maybe I should simply despawn the enemy right when it hit the start of the path and then add a new enemy to the path follow to make it look like it had just reset. This was a fatal mistake and took me, I'm not even exaggerating, 5 hours to figure out. Every single time something would break and it was damn near impossible to do anything, it felt like. First the pathing would break, then the enemy would respawn in the wrong spot, then the enemy would find a ghost point to move towards that instead of its original path point, and then it worked. And then it broke again! I was genuinely so happy, and in the course of 20 minutes when I was trying to show my friends that I finally did it, it broke! I genuinely don't know how. After all of my pain and suffering, not only did it work flawlessly, or at least I hoped so, but it was probably far more optimized than it should have been. If you want to see just how much agony I was in, here is a clip of me at nearly 4 a.m. just finally talking about it.
It's almost 4 in the morning, and this is the documentation you're getting on me finishing this stupid pathfinding algorithm. To put it simply, add a path 2D node to the paths and enemies folder. Click. It instantly populates every path node with an enemy and a path follow 2D. And they can detect my position. They'll move to my last known location. They'll stay there for a moment. They'll pathfind their way all the way back to their starting point via the nav mesh, and then they will go on as if nothing happened. There's a couple of little kinks I can work out, but for now, that's how it works. And this works with every single enemy in the game. They will always try to navigate towards the player when they have the opportunity. They will interrupt their pathfinding in order to find the player. And it only took me 6 straight hours. But after this, it's just getting the game to work for the rest of my time doing this. I hope you enjoyed my mental breakdown. I'm gonna go to bed.
On Friday, I woke up a bit late due to the fact that I had been up so late the previous day, but my main goal at this point was just art and level design with a bit of polish. The original idea was to draw all of the assets that I needed, but after all the pain I went through with the AI, I decided that my boy Kenny was going to be the savior today. At this point, I don't even care if the sprites look off, I just need to finish the game before Sunday at 5, and I have no levels assigned and no menus to navigate, so it's crunch time. Shout out to Kenny. I would highly recommend paying for the all-in-one collection, as it has come in clutch so many times for me when it comes to like testing for sprites and stuff. I'll link his shop in the description too, so please just go check it out. I love Kenny assets. He's incredible. After picking all of the main art assets I was going to be using, here are those, by the way. I got to work doing all of the collision and pathing for the tile sets. This was so tedious and annoying that I decided not to record it because it was literally just me clicking points for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. Unfortunately, because I decided not to record, I ended up making an entire level off camera, which is our casino level here. Because of the assets that I decided to use, our main character here has some more unique jobs which are represented by our levels. I constructed an entire casino map with dealers and civilians, as well as a handful of our patrolling enemies. Here is a picture of the map itself, which makes absolutely no sense, but in all honesty, I had fully committed to the tile sets I chose without much of an afterthought at this point. As for our protagonist's job, I guess he's a dealer and that he's had enough. I have a few details in this map that I enjoy, like this guy facing away from the dealer and this handsome gentleman dealing cards at the top section of the map here. Unlike the casino, I actually recorded my designing of the second map, which is a street, so I guess our protagonist is a crime scene investigator of some sort. This map was effectively copied from the asset image, because honestly I could not figure out how to utilize the assets at the time of making the map, which was around 2 a.m. I believe. It was around this point I decided the game should actually have some kind of win condition and fail state, but with those ideas comes so many menus. I had to make a title screen for the game, which involved placing a handful of buttons on a screen and throwing a temporary logo on the screen at the time. I also decided to make a moving background so that the game had some level of visual appeal, so I created a background scene and followed a very brief YouTube tutorial in order to get a nice moving shader. Looks like I also modified the scene itself so I could change the background for later areas so that the player wouldn't get too bored of looking at the same color over and over again. I implemented a win condition and allowed myself to edit those conditions in the main script, which I was just copying and pasting into each of the levels because I didn't really care about making them too insanely unique outside of their difficulties. After designing, I think, 9 different menus, all of which will be shown here, cool montage style, so you can see them. Menus that I spent maybe 5 hours on in terms of programming and designing. After making all the menus and such, one of my friends helped me design a logo which will be on the actual title screen of the game. I think the art is cool and unique. I only wish I knew enough about shaders to make the smoke move around for dramatic effect. If you like to design yourself, I'll have a link to my friend's Instagram or whatever account they use for artwork in the description below. After all of that work, it was time to design the third and final level, which I have no footage of because I was so locked in I genuinely forgot to press the record button. Oops. But you can take a look at the finished product here. Look at all my little minions go. Pay no mind to the fact that they clip through objects sometimes. It's not that big of a deal. It was at this point I needed to add only one more thing to the game: audio. If you know any of my projects, like my videos or shorts, then you might have noticed that all my music is completely custom, and not because I made it, but because one of my other friends makes pretty good music. I asked him for a track to use in the game and used a few extras that I had lying around. Then I created a quick audio player script to have the music fade in and out. I had never used the interactive audio stream player before, and honestly, it made the music end so quick and easy, it will likely change how I do all of my music in games going forward when I design them. After all that, it was time to polish as much as I could. At this point, I only had a few hours left, so it was kind of crunch time to fix the final few bugs. There was a couple of pathing issues that I was able to fix. There was an issue with the exclamation point not appearing above the enemy heads, and a couple of the menu buttons were kind of faulty and not working too well. After fixing as many bugs as I could find, anyway, I was able to sit at my game about an hour ahead of schedule, which was pretty nice compared to my last Game Jam experience. After a few days of waiting for results, I tried out a handful of the submissions and even got some feedback on my own, which was nice to see. I actually got a few ratings more than my last Game Jam, which was super cool to see. In the end, I didn't end up placing in the top 5, or even in the top 100 for that matter, but I made a game, and I'm genuinely proud of how it came out. Who knew making a game about one of the most horrific vices imaginable could be so damn fun? I will certainly take the experience in making this game with me into my next projects, which I will hopefully be able to share with you guys soon. If you made it this far, I want to give you a big thank you for supporting me and my channel. We're almost at 100 subscribers, and I'd love to get there before the end of 2026. If you want to check out my game, I'll have a link to its itch page in the description, and hopefully we can have some more fun with game development in the future. But that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video.